Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2020 and the final part of this experiment where we're taking a look at what would happen if the Welsh Premier League had essentially unlimited money. They're getting 3.6 billion every year paid to each, paid across each of the 12 teams. Today we're going to go about 60 years into the future, and that will be about 120 years all in all. I mean, you're looking at about 300 to 400 billion pounds. I think it's actually over 400 billion pounds having been pumped into the Welsh Premier League over a 100-year period. So we're expecting to see some kind of success because inflation is not a problem in this game. So when we left off last time, we'd seen Penybont become the absolute dominant team in Wales, challenged a little bit by Airbus recently. Penybont also made it into the Champions League knockout stages, the first Welsh team to do that. And then in the other competitions, there wasn't any great success. There was one team in the Europa League quarterfinals, or two teams, and the same in the Euro Cup too. So we're hoping to see them move on to the next stage and actually challenge at the top, because with this money coming in, teams like Penybont that are now spending 50 million a year on players should be bringing in silverware on a European level. I mean, they've got a few players here. You can see they're like a Europa League, Premier League team, possibly just off that, maybe mid-table team. Some players with a big salary, not a great potential or current ability. But 60 years in the future, they will have kicked on. So if you're enjoying this experiment, drop a like down below, make sure to subscribe, and let's jump 60 years in the future and see what the world is looking like. Well, we're now in the year 2137. We're a very long way in the future. When we left off, Penybont had been on this great run. It looks like they've fallen back since then. And you had Carmarthen and Airbus dominating before Penybont managed to come back. TNS nowhere to be seen now. But the kind of teams at the top really have changed. Carmarthen have probably become the most dominant team. No other team quite matching them for that dominance. Carmarthen had a little spell back here, but what this essentially means is that we're now looking at them up in 10th place in the competition rankings. They were previously 14th, 10th. They were as high as 9th, but they've not quite managed to crack this top 6 of untouchable leagues. But they are now a 4-star reputation team up there above Liga NOS, above the Eredivisie, which means that these teams with this money should begin to bring in some real results. And if we look at the kind of money being spent, going back to the 60s and just running forward through this really quickly, 58 million, 83 million there being spent. Well, that was Manchester City spending that money, but Carmarthen, making 2 transfers for basically 100 million in total. The money then seemed to sort of drop off a little bit, but 50s still appearing in there. There was another 80 back there, was there? Or did I misread that? Maybe I misread that. 38. But it's about the 40, 50 million, then up to the 60s. And then there's an 80 million here. But that was to Leicester. Carmarthen losing 4 players there for about 200 million. But it's a lot of money. There has been a lot of money spent by this league. So looking at its profile here, I think Carmarthen are the team that we want to have a look at in terms of playing squad right now. They've got a lot of players on basically 100 grand a week or more. If we look at the value of that team, 25, 35 million, it's not brilliant current ability. 145, 142, these are fully fledged, they should be fully fledged internationals. Whether they are or not is a different question. Looks like they're not. I suppose 160 is about where you'd want them to be, but 145 is where they are at. So that's the domestic front. It's not particularly interesting. What we want to do now is go and have a look at the Euro Cup too. If we start with the European Championship, sorry, not European Championship, what am I doing? I want the Champions League. And then if we just drop down a couple of competitions, not to the Euro Super Cup, but looking at the Euro Cup 2 and the stages. And basically we want to have a look at, I think at this point, probably just the quarterfinal onwards here. And if we go back to that 69-70 season, and just keeping an eye out for any Welsh teams like that one there. Airbus managed to make it through. And then the following year, they actually made it to the semi-finals as well, where they beat Astra Georgiou to make it into the final. And they beat Stuttgart 2-0. Airbus UK Broughton won 2-0 against Stuttgart to become the first Welsh team to win a European competition. It is only the Euro Cup 2, but that is really impressive that they managed to do that in the 70s. Now, just going on through these years, Carnarvon knocked out. I'm going to start with the semi-final stage, just makes it run a bit quicker. Penybont beat Chelsea 5-2 on aggregate, and in the final they lost to Ghent. Surprising finish, that one. And just bouncing up between these years here to try and see. I'm keeping my eye out for the Welsh, but my computer screen is far too wide for me to do this without turning my head at a quick pace, so I might get a little bit dizzy in a moment. So a Welsh team, there we go. Carnarvon made it through to the semis, but it's not been a lasting period of success here after that Airbus win. Airbus did make it to another one, and in the final were beaten by Greuther Fürth of Germany. Not a team flying high at the moment, I don't think, but they are 100 years in the future. But it looks like we're not seeing many more Welsh winners of this competition. Only about 20 years left to go. Irish teams popping in there. Dundalk twice making it into the final. So the Irish League started to do better than the Welsh League somehow. Carnarvon there beaten in the semis. And it looks like there might only be one winner. Penybont in the final. What have they done? They've lost on penalties to Lyon. So Airbus remain the only Welsh winner of this competition at the moment. Carnarvon there beaten by Hanover. Penybont beaten by Chelsea. And in the most recent season, there's an Icelandic team in the final. And they are yet to play. The fact that there's an Icelandic team in the final really annoys me that no Welsh teams have made it there, because there's no way they have that kind of cash available. But we do have a Welsh winner of this competition. Now, if we look at the quarterfinals of the Europa League, going back to the same period here, I'm hoping we're going to see a lot more Welsh teams pop up than we had previously. And you can see here this year, 3 Welsh teams made it to the quarterfinals, but none of them made it to the semis. That's really disappointing. But a good sign that that was able to happen. And then no Welsh teams for a long time afterwards. How odd is that? Now, Airbus did make it through. They beat Spartak Moscow in the semis. They beat Arsenal on away goals. Arsenal beaten. Unbelievable. Benfica in the final, and Airbus are beaten by Benfica. Airbus absolutely front-running Wales in Europe here. But unfortunately falling at the final hurdle. Will they get another chance? That's the big question. It doesn't look like there is a continued period of success, which does worry me a little bit about the Champions League. Now, Welsh team Hill made it through its Carnarvon into the semis, but they're beaten by Porto. Tough luck there. Another Welsh team, Penybont, beaten by Anderlecht. So that's a couple in quick succession, and 2 different teams, but it's just not endured. I don't know why these Welsh teams are not kicking on to the next level. We will have a look after the fact here. Penybont did make it through to the semis, and in the semis they are beaten by Watford. And we've only got 20 years left to go here, so I'm not filled with hope. Carnarvon beaten again. But it looks like we might not have a Welsh winner of the Europa League, which doesn't fill me with confidence about the Champions League at all. Now, Carnarvon they're beaten, and no Welsh team in the most recent season. So there was never a Welsh winner of the Europa League. Only Airbus making it to the final and losing. So our hopes lie in the Champions League. We will start with the first knockout round. We'll go back to that 2069-70 season. And this is really where our hope lies, is that a Welsh team has somehow ridden out of nowhere and won the Champions League. You can see Penybont 7-0 against Leicester. Carnarvon made it through as well, so 2 in a row there. Very encouraging. Obviously, as they go up the rankings, they should be getting more and more teams in the group stage as well, which might mean they aren't winning the Europa League as much, but it just doesn't look like they're quite making this next step in Europe. And I do have a theory as to why that is happening, which I will discuss when we get through these fixtures, but we're getting through them quite quickly here, and we're not seeing many Welsh teams popping up on the screen. I'm not sure what this is doing to your guys' eyes, but I'm definitely getting a little bit dizzy. But no Welsh teams. What is this about? It looks like they actually peaked way back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and since then have absolutely fallen off. No Welsh teams anywhere here. We certainly know who the best Welsh team of all time is, and it's Airbus UK Broughton, who are the best Welsh team of all time. If we have a look at their overview here, 22 titles, 23 Welsh Cups, 1 Euro Cup 2, and a runner-up, if we go to this screen, a runner-up in the Europa League in 2084. They've won quite a lot of titles there. But unfortunately, they were never able to make it to the next level. And my theory is that these stadiums are a joke. 1,500, they've just not got the ability to raise their attendance to a substantial level. Maximum club attendance 25,000, but they only get 1,376. That's my theory as to why they've never been able to kick on. They just don't have the innate kind of resources to draw on to make use of the money they're bringing in year after year. I mean, Barry Town only have secure finances now. Most of them still rich clubs, some of them just okay. But overall, most of them actually are struggling for their finances now 100 years down the line, because their bills will be so high to try and pay for everything. I mean, if we look at the TNS club here, their wages are appalling. $5,000 a week. I don't know what's happened there, but their finances have clearly run out. And it means they've just never been able to kick on to that next level. They've really dropped down in the league. And it's just not quite worked. I don't know why it hasn't worked, but they've hit their maximum level. I think we'd have to boost the resources of the Welsh nation. You can do that in the full game editor, so maybe that's another experiment for another day. But do let me know down in the comments what you think about the outcome of this experiment. I think it's a little bit disappointing they weren't able to win a Europa League or Champions League. But do let me know what you think down below. I will have a quick look at the Wales competition record in case they did manage to win that World Cup that they just missed out on to Spain last time. Obviously the game takes a while to load at this point. Looking at their competitions, runner-up 2066, 2066 as well. But yeah, no other big success for the Welsh national side. Currently ranked 25th in the world. They did get as high as 17th there. But that's going to be it for this experiment. Do drop a like down below if you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. There'll be a new experiment out soon. But until next time, see ya.